Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And we are currently in the phase 3 of our 100 Days of DevOps series. And we started with CI/CD about 2 days ago, where I talked about what CI/CD has come to implement. I mentioned, or I stated CI/CD as the heartbeat of DevOps. It's at the core of DevOps, and I took my time to explain the different process of the different process that is involved in CI as well as CD. We also looked at tools that can be used to implement CI/CD, and then we started with that was 2 days ago. Yesterday we started with Jenkins. We installed Jenkins on our VM. We used Docker to set up Jenkins on our VM, and this is what the Jenkins user interface looks like. So today I'm going to be showing us around Jenkins. We're supposed to write our first pipeline today. However, I feel like there are some things we need to familiarize ourselves with the Jenkins platform, as well as some concepts, so that when we start writing pipelines, it doesn't look strange to us. We understand exactly what we are doing. So from the user interface, we don't really see so much here. We just see, we have the welcome page where create a job and all of that. So what I'm going to show you, I'll start from here. So basically, when you click on new item, it asks you, what do you want to build? Are you building a pipeline? Are you building a freestyle project, a multi-configurable project, a folder, multi-branch pipeline, organization folder? I would explain this later on, but this is what you get when you click on the new item, and everything, basically your work will be done around this area. So if I go back to our Jenkins, this is the build history. Basically, it shows you the history of things that you've actually done. This is a new Jenkins container, and we've not done anything on it, so we have no build history. When we go here, we go to Manage Jenkins. So a lot of your configurations are going to happen here. This is where the tweaking and settings, this is where it all happens. So let's dismiss this. Okay, we dismiss this also. So basically, we have different things here. We have system configuration. Basically, if you want to configure your system, like a global settings or path, you can do that. You have tools, you have plugins, you have nodes, you have loud. If you're integrating with cloud, you have appearance. Basically, if you want to configure how your Jenkins will look like, you can do that. Then we can look at security. So we can secure Jenkins, secure who and who is allowed to access Jenkins. Credentials basically is just saying you don't want to really display your credentials in your pipeline, so you can add them under this place and then reference them in your pipeline. When we start writing pipelines, we would use all of these things. We'll do all of this setup. So we have the credential providers, we have the users. You can have more than one user for your Jenkins. Then you have your system information, system logs, statistics about Jenkins, and all of that. So from here, let's look at plugins. So basically, what plugins are like, they're additions to your system that makes it work faster, or that gives it the ability to execute a lot of things. So we have under plugins, we have updates. There are no updates available, so we can check the installed plugins that we have. So we can check, these are all the plugins that are currently pre-installed. Remember, when we were trying to set up our Jenkins, we accepted that Jenkins should install some plugins for us. So this is all that was installed in the Jenkins plugin. So there are some additional plugins that we need to ensure that are available for us, so that we don't run into issues. So the first is pipeline. So we have the pipeline plugin. So because we are going to be writing pipeline, so we also want our Jenkins to be able to interact with GitHub. So we have our Git pipeline. Okay, so we have it here. Let's see. Credential building plugin. Okay, let's see if we have Blue Ocean. Okay, we don't have Blue Ocean. Let's see for Docker. We don't have Docker. So some of the pipelines that we don't have here, so we go to available pipelines. We type what we want. I want GitHub integration. So you click on it and then you install pipeline. So it's working, and let's check for more. Let's check for Blue Ocean. We didn't see Blue Ocean, so let's check for it if it's still available. Okay, Blue Ocean is available, and then we also install that. Okay, and let's go back to available. Let's install Docker pipeline. Install Docker pipeline. Let's also install Docker API. So there are so many pipelines that, depending on what you want to do, you don't have to install any pipeline you just see. You only install the pipelines that are required for your day-to-day activities. So let me just put this also. So you can see here, it shows you the health, how healthy these pipelines are, because people work on these plugins rather. So how healthy these plugins are, people work on it on a day-to-day basis to ensure that these plugins are really working fine and you are able to carry out your day-to-day task. So what we do is that after that, I think that's basically all. So we just wait for it to click on. Anytime you make an installation or a setup, you always want to restart Jenkins so that those new setups can actually take effect, right? So while all of this is pending, let me see if there's any other thing that I have to do here. Let me duplicate this tab. Let me go to Jenkins. Let's see. So for now, we're only going to stick with the plugins installation. When we start writing pipelines, we are going to start touching some other places. So let's just wait for this to, finish installing. So while we are waiting for that, I just want to introduce us, or I just want to make some concepts known to us, and what are the things that we are supposed to understand. So basically, Jenkins is a CI orchestrator or a CI/CD orchestrator. It helps. I explained all of that yesterday. It helps you to, automate the building of your will I say image. It tests your image. It tests your code. Tests your image. Builds it, and also assist in deploying to whatever environment that you have already specified for it to deploy with. So now there are some concepts, or there are some terminologies that makes all of this work, seamlessly. And I'm going to mention just a few of them, just the ones that you need to actually really know for now. And the first thing that you need to know is the controller. Every system always has a controller. They always have the brain that controls everything. So Jenkins is also not left out. Okay, it's still pending. Jenkins is also not left out, because in a large production setup, you would have more than one Jenkins setup. You have so many. What we did was we set up a Jenkins container, but I also told you that apart from a Jenkins container, you can dedicate a single VM, that's an entire virtual machine. You can turn it into a Jenkins virtual machine. So you can have one Jenkins virtual machine as the control node, and then you have several other Jenkins virtual machine or containers, as the case may be, as maybe worker nodes or agents, as the case may be. Yes, agents. So you must have a controller. So Jenkins has a controller, and this controller, what does it do? A controller is the one that owns or that houses the web UI. So this UI that we can see now means this our agent or this our container is the controller, because it is the only one that houses or owns the web UI. So, and when we went to our setup, you can see that we could configure things, we could store credentials, we could check our history, and all of that. So this is handled by the controller. So basically, it's like the brain. It's like the brain of Jenkins. Then another one we need to familiarize with it. Obviously, if there is a controller, then there's definitely a worker, because there are no controllers without workers. So in Jenkins, it is called agents. So we can have different agents. Basically, an agent is the machine on which the build process actually occurs. This is where the pipeline actually runs, and we can have different agents. We can have a Linux agent, we can have Windows agent, we can have Docker agent, we can even have Kubernetes agent. So in this our setup, we have just one Jenkins container. So this same Jenkins container that is acting as a controller is also acting as an agent. So a controller can act as an agent in this particular case. Although in a production setup, I wouldn't think that a controller will be able to act. A controller should be acting as an agent. So that said, the next we need to understand is workspace. So basically, it is self-explanatory. A workspace is like a folder that contains each job. So a workspace is like a folder that contains each job, and your workspace is Jenkins, can be found Jenkins _ home. This is usually where you can find your workspace. /var /Jenkins _ home. So this is basically where your workspace is, and this is where you can it houses your job basically. So I've said job. Now let's talk about job. What is a job? So a job is like a workspace houses a job. A job contains your pipeline. So when they say for which successful job, that means for each successful task that has been completed. So it's like a task that contains the pipeline, right? And then finally, what is a pipeline? We've been saying pipeline. What exactly is a pipeline? Pipeline is what defines your steps. It's a set of instructions that automates what you actually want to do. That is basically what a pipeline is. If we go to the Jenkins documentation, so basically a pipeline is a user-defined model of a CD. It defines your entire build process. So it's just like a what do you call it now? It's just like a list. Let's say your Docker file. Since your Docker file is also a list of things that should be contained in your container, the pipeline is also similar. It's like a script that defines your entire build process, and this gives us a clear view of how a pipeline looks like. Maybe it's like an picture diagram of what a pipeline is like. I won't really go into this until when we start, working with pipelines. So this once we start working with pipelines, we'll come back to this and then I'll be able to explain better. You would understand exactly what this image is and what exactly a pipeline is. So if we go to, let me see, Docker PS, if we exec, now kindly note that all of these plugins that is installing, they're actually installing on our Jenkins container. So this is taking long. I don't know why this is actually taking long. So it's whatever, what do you call it now? Whatever plugin that is installed here is actually installed on our Jenkins container, not just the web UI. So if we exec into it, docker exec -it, and then we do this and we want a bash shell. So if I do ls, we're in the Jenkins container right now. So if I go to cd/var and I do ls, we can see our Jenkins home. So we'll cd into that, and when I do ls-l, you can see our configuration. You can see jobs. So these jobs now, it houses every job. It's basically like our workspace, and we said our workspace contains a job, and if you can see, it is a directory. If I cd to job, if I cd to jobs and I do ls, I won't find anything because there are currently no jobs running. So let me go back. And then you can see our plugins, and you can see that it is also a directory. So let me cd to plugins and I do ls. So you can see all the plugins that are being installed. You can see the blue ocean and all of that. So you can see Git. So that's what I was trying to say, that if whatever we are installing here, whatever we are setting up here, is not just for the UI, it's actually being installed on our Jenkins container. So I hope we've been able to learn one or two things. Is there anything I have to show for today again? I'm just going to wait for this to actually complete before we proceed with anything. Let me see if I can just give a snippet of the hell is going to explain all those jobs, those pipelines rather. Okay. Oh, let me log in again and see installed plugins. Docker pipeline. Let me see if Blue Ocean installed. Okay, Blue Ocean installed. We see Docker API, Docker commands. I think those are the ones that are yet to. Let me confirm that. Docker API, Docker command, Docker pipeline. Okay, but Docker itself is yet to be properly installed. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, so when we come to our Jenkins here, we want to go to our home page. All right, so we said create a job, and I already explained what a job is. A job houses the pipeline that defines the steps or the process in which our setup is going to be automated. So if I click on it, yes, we have the pipeline, we have a freestyle project, we have multi-content, just like I said. Now, I've already explained what pipeline is, right? Now, a freestyle project is just like the name sounds, it's a freestyle project. You just really want to, as a beginner, you want to try your hands on something, and you just feel like, okay, you just want to test one or two things and see how it looks like. So you can do a freestyle project. Then multi-branch pipeline, organization folder. This is when you start working with a large number of teams, and then you have so many branches in your GitHub. You want to manage the branch. You have a main branch, you have development branch, you have maybe like a staging or a production branch or a release branch. Let's say if you have multiple branches in a repository, in a single GitHub repository, then the best thing is for you to use a multi-branch pipeline. So let's see if we can do any freestyle. Let's see. I just want to show a snippet of what we are going to do tomorrow, because it's from tomorrow we're actually going to be writing pipelines. I just want to show us a thing or two. And okay, so this isn't giving me what I want. So let's see. Let's add a build step. Let's say build Docker. No, this isn't giving me what I want. Yeah, this isn't giving me what I want. But now we have a job. We've created a job. So let's go back to our container and see if we have a job created, if we have anything under jobs rather. So let's see this /var/Jenkins/home ls. So cd into jobs, or we do ls. So you can see now we have one job, which is test, which is the name. So for every job that you create, ls-l, for every job that you create, a folder is created for that particular job. So if I do cd to test, let's see what we'll find there. So we have a config, let me see, ls-l. Let's see if we can cut it and see what is in the config. Okay, these are just basically configuration. So this is just to show you that for every job that you create, a folder is created in the Jenkins container that houses each of the jobs, right? So let's go back here. I don't want this. Let me leave. Let me create a new item. Now let's look at pipeline. Let's look at test pipeline. And we're building a pipeline. I will say okay. So let me see. Now for here, you can either define as a script or you can do from SCN. SCN basically means source code management, and your source code is basically talking about your version control system. So if you're using GitHub as your VCS, your source code will be from GitHub. If I click on it now, so it will show you, it will ask me which of the SCM, and the only SCM available is Git. So if you want to integrate your Jenkins with your GitHub, this is what you actually do. So, but we're not going to do that now. Let's just do script, and let's try a sample pipeline. Let's try a hello world pipeline and see how a hello world pipeline is. So this is what a hello world pipeline is. So all of this, I'm going to explain what all of this means tomorrow. So this might, if you are seeing this for the first time, you're wondering what type of language is this, or what programming language this is looking different, or something that you've not actually seen before. Jenkins has its own scripting language, and we're going to talk about pipelines extensively. We're only going to be talking about pipelines extensively. Tomorrow we're going to be working with various pipelines. So as time will permit, we would see how many pipelines we can actually write, we can actually get our hands on. So I want to believe that you've gained one or two things today. If you've actually gained anything, if you have questions, if there are any parts that you do not understand, please do well to write it in the comment section. I'll be in the comments. I'll be there to answer any questions or any challenge you might be having either with the setup or whatever it is. So I'll be on the comment section to actually answer them. And if you're coming across this channel for the first time, so what we are trying to do is that we are trying to cover DevOps in 100 days. We've covered fundamentals and we're taking it one step at a time. We are currently in the phase 3 of our 100 days of DevOps, which is the CI/CD. We are focusing on CI, just CI with Jenkins and GitHub Actions for this particular phase. And then later on in a different phase, we'll incorporate the CI with the CD, and then we have a full-blown CI/CD pipeline. And if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please do well to subscribe to the channel, and please, most importantly, turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any video when I upload it. So I'm going to see you again tomorrow. Until then, remain blessed. Cheers.